I'm Philippa Bullock. I'm a military student nurse and I'm in the RAF. So in my family, my granddad was in the RAF and my grandmother was in the WAF. So I grew up around planes and sort of military history. For me personally, I always wanted to become a nurse since my little boy was little. I was his main carer as he was growing up. We had an incident where I had to do CPR when he was very little, and how I managed that situation as a mother, as a parent, I felt sort of instilled in me that nursing was my path. So I applied to do my access course. After my access course, I was looking to apply to university, but my husband was serving in the military and he let me know of the fantastic opportunities that the military offer in terms of nursing. With military nursing, you get to do deployments, so you get to travel the world, you get to be in field hospitals, med centres, you can do aerovac. So there's a lot of scope for ongoing learning, knowledge, and obviously the military pays for it. So you're getting those opportunities within your job. So I applied. It was a year-long process. It was quite grueling. You had to do physicals, medicals, you had to prepare presentations, you had to go to open days. But the military prepared you well in advance. You had all the information to hand, so you knew exactly what you were sort of taking on. From that, I joined the RAF last year. It was May 17th. Turned up at RAF Halton, and I joined my flight, which was Arnold at the time. And I did 12 weeks of training, and this involved, your soldier skills. So this is a standardised training that everybody does before you go on to do your trade. The benefit of that was we did things like stretcher runs, which were quite fun actually, going through different terrain. And it meant that you were physically and mentally resilient to actually start your nursing degree. I really enjoyed it. Having that diversity, you had, different gender, different religions, different cultures, people from all different types of backgrounds, and you had all different trades in together. So it was a great opportunity to sort of mix people that maybe you wouldn't ordinarily meet. It was also an opportunity to make lifelong friends. A lot of the friends I made in basic training, I still have now. And you become very close. You're put in unusual situations, I'll put it that way. Unusual situations, so you're sort of forced to create that bond. And your experiences through training, because like I said before, you've got to be physically and mentally resilient. So you learn it's a journey. You learn a lot about yourself from start to finish. You go into the military with an open mind. You come out of the phase 1 training, and you look back on everything you've achieved, and it's hard to believe at times. So you get 2 weeks holiday in between phase 1 and phase 2. So that's a really good opportunity to spend time with family and friends and sort of prepare for phase 2. It was a really good experience. The first week is an introductory week. So obviously all your military sort of admin, your military admin, and then obviously your university admin is given to you all in 1 week. Allocated a room on Hampstead campus, and you share that flat with five to six other people, which is great because you've got tri-services, so you mix with people from the Navy, from the Army, the RAF, and they're all people that are in your cohort, so you all put in a cohort together. From that you start your lectures, you have your timetable. Your week is pretty structured, so you'll have lectures on certain days and then you'll have military PT, which is, for me, was an added bonus. You know, having a free personal trainer every week to keep you fit was a huge privilege. A lot of my military friends in my cohort, they've worked as medics within their fields, so they've transferred over to nursing. So they've already got, you know, a number of years of experience within the military medical environment then, I should say. So it's been fantastic because you can really rely on other people in terms of knowledge, experience. If you're stuck on a certain part of assignment, they might have that, you know, they might be able to point you in the right direction in terms of where you can source that information, for instance. And they're really good for support in general. You know, you can really rely on each other to, you know, if you're struggling with something, there's always someone there to help you out. We have our military cohort. Then you have people civilians who've chosen to do nursing, but you also have apprentices who are already working in the NHS, but doing a degree alongside. So it's great because when you're in lectures, everybody brings something to the table. Everybody has different experiences, and you learn. You have a deeper learning and understanding from listening to those experiences. When you're in your first year, your first term, you will just do academic study, and that's to sort of give you those vital sort of foundation skills for adult nursing. Then you go on placement in the February after your exams, and that'll be your first placement, and that can be anywhere across Birmingham and the surrounding areas. For me, I was in community district nursing, which worked perfectly around two little rugrats, and it was an amazing experience because obviously I got to create that therapeutic relationship with patients because I'd go back to see them week on week. And that the benefits of that, it gives you a greater understanding of that patient's needs. And they open up to you then. So then you can get that sort of dialogue going. So if there is anything underlying or they do have any other symptoms that they're experiencing, then you can address that to the nurse you're with. They were a great team. They've got years of experience. They've all come off the wards and sort of towards the end of their career, the majority. But it was great. You got all different people from society, and like I said, you got to build those relationships, which for me is really important in understanding what their medical needs are. I think the lessons that I've learned from being in the military is the importance of fitness. You should never underestimate how your physical resilience will be so important for your nursing. So this is in terms of things like manual handling, being able to bend down. So these are little things you just wouldn't think about, but maintaining your fitness so that you're physically fit when you're doing a 12-hour shift and you may have a 5-minute, chance to get a cup of coffee or whatever. It's ensuring that you're physically fit and that you're getting the nutrition and the hours of sleep that are needed. And that follows on from being looking at your timekeeping, being organising and preparing before you go on shift. I think for me, the challenge of this year has been I've got a serving husband and obviously I've got a young family. So my challenge this year has been juggling my military career, being a wife and a mother, so my outside responsibilities. It has been challenging, but it's worked, and I think that is what is really great about the RAF in particular, that they're really inclusive and really supportive in terms of women who have children within the military, and when you have a serving husband, it means you still can do your nursing. I think my proudest moment was when I graduated. I had my husband in the front row and my 2 children, and I hadn't seen them for 3 months, which absolutely killed me at times. So it was a very emotional but very proud moment, and I felt like it was really important to be a good role model, especially for my daughter, to show that, you know, you can have children, you can still join the military, you can be older, you know, there's one standard. I think the best thing about being a military nurse is the corps that you've joined. We're all like-minded people. It's helping others. So it's giving something back to society, which I think is really important as a person. I think it's the opportunities it gives you in terms of travel. I love my travels, so that was a massive pull for me when it came to the RAF and the locations that they go across the world, and the type of patients that you would encounter. I think you know, you could end up in a war zone, so you're dealing with very different types of injuries. So in terms of skill sets, you're learning a particular set of skills which within civilian nursing you wouldn't get to do. I think my least favourite thing is polishing parade shoes and perhaps ironing, because I do enough ironing at home. I think for me, Florence Nightingale, she established nursing as a respected profession, whereas Mary Seacole, she was a pioneer for racial equality within nursing. And the two combined have shaped the field of nursing in terms of sanitary within military and civilian hospitals and the quality of care that we give to patients.